My 33 male wife, 25 female, constantly makes a conscious effort to humiliate me during my lessons over Zoom. While under normal circumstances I would try to communicate my feelings to my wife, I am at my wit's end for how to handle this situation, as I have exhausted all of the typical conflict resolution means. Being a teacher, I am currently giving lessons over Zoom. I recognize that studying math over Zoom isn't the most exciting thing in the world for students, and I can barely get them to even pretend to be interested in my lessons when we're in the classroom, but they have done an admirable job of staying focused. My wife is making it extremely difficult on my end, though. Several months ago when my lessons began, I went from working long hours to being at home all day. Unfortunately, my wife does not seem to understand that while I am at home, and while I can occasionally help out with a chore or two, I still have actual work to do. Between lesson prep, grading, and meetings, my schedule is quite full. The first time she interrupted my lesson, she abruptly opened the door to the room where I was teaching and loudly asked me to do the dishes. This was unbelievably awkward as I was in the middle of teaching 36 10th graders geometry. I told her we would talk about it later, but not being deterred, she asked if that was a yes or a no. I said it was a yes, but that I was in the middle of a lesson. Without a word she closed the door. I got some chuckles from the students, but a bit of red-cheeked embarrassment was the extent of the damage. The next time, 2 days later, she again barged in holding a pair of my pants that I left on the floor of our bedroom. She loudly stated, "You need to pick up after yourself." This time, before responding, I muted my mic and turned off my camera, telling her that I was in the middle of a lesson. Again, she walked away without a word. At this point I moved my setup into the basement of our house so I could avoid further interruption. Since my basement looks like it probably has a few dead bodies buried in it, my students have begun to call me Basement Dad, which is endearing, but I would rather teach in a room where I'm not going to get asbestos in my lungs. The trouble really began when I started locking the door to prevent interruptions. My wife will begin by rattling the door a few times, followed by pounding on it. Then she'll groan loudly and say something negative about me. After that I can hear her walking around the house slamming doors. A few weeks ago, she was literally jumping up and down, stomping her feet, in the room above mine. In the first months of these online lessons I set up a hotkey to mute my mic and disable my camera instantly when needed, and luckily my reflexes honed from Counter-Strike in my teens has paid off. But there have been times where she has sneaked in an embarrassing moment for me. Every time I have patiently explained to her that I need complete quiet to teach my lessons, and she says, yeah okay. Then in the next lesson, without fail, she'll find something new to complain about and throw a tantrum, trying to humiliate me in front of my students. While my mute game is on point, students have recognized something is wrong. One of my 9th graders even sent me an email asking if everything was okay. I had to make up a lame excuse about needing to mute my mic because of a sudden grinding noise that happens in my old basement. There's no way she bought that. Since I'm unable to go out, unable to even enter the school grounds, and have no place to go to avoid my wife, I'm unbelievably anxious when I teach. I have tried talking to her calmly, and I even tried to get angry at her. When I yelled at her for forcefully sliding plastic files under the door so they'd float down in the background during my lessons, she expected me to apologize for getting angry at her. How can I even approach this kind of problem? Too long did not read. My wife is acting ridiculous when I'm teaching lessons over Zoom. Most of the rest of the day she's normal, but during lessons she does everything in her power to sabotage me. Not to sound like a dick, but why on earth would you want to be with someone so unsupportive and emotionally destructive? Tell her that unless she wants to go out and get a job to support the family, she needs to cut the childish shit and let you do your job uninterrupted. If she still keeps acting like a 2-year-old, tell her she quits immediately or you will leave to stay with family or in a hotel so that you can work. Tell her you got written up for being too distracted while teaching. Make her realize how serious your job should be taken. What the fuck is her problem? Oh my god. Does she work? Does she need a hobby? I don't know this woman or what her deal is, but I would try one more time to have a serious discussion with her about boundaries and not interrupting you while you're at work because it makes your job and the students' jobs harder. If she does not understand after this next time, I would seriously examine your relationship, since she does not seem to prioritize your work. What else does she disrespect about you? If this is not pre-baby type behavior for her, really take a good look into postpartum depression. Also, reach out to her. 8 months falls squarely within the window and I'm sure COVID isn't helping. She isn't well. Get her the help she needs. If your student was concerned enough to email you, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them felt the need to email one of your supervisors or colleagues. This could result in some serious professional embarrassment or at least unwanted involvement in your personal life. She doesn't respect you. It's that simple. She wants to sabotage you. Jealousy, anger, resentment, whatever. Are you sure she loves you? She doesn't think you will do anything, or maybe she secretly hopes you will. Your wife is a bully. You probably didn't notice it before, but now people outside the relationship are involved. It's become more apparent. This is not going to stop. If a locked door just means she increases her efforts to humiliate you, talking to her is not going to help. This is clearly an indication as to how she treats your wider relationship, and I think you should take it as a warning that you need to reconsider your relationship and maybe get out now. I can't tell you for sure why she does this, but I would guess that it is a form of control or attention seeking. My husband does this too. If I say I'm busy, he will ask 1/2 questions that can obviously wait, puts the mail on top of my workspace, or blares, "Hiya, bookworm birdie. What's on your agenda for today?" The message I get from it is that I don't control my own space, he does. Edits, clarity. How does she feel about your relationship with your 8-year-old son? Is she constantly asking you to care for him? Complaining that you aren't involved enough with him? I ask because she could be feeling projections of jealousy, seeing you pay attention to other people's kids when she feels like you're not doing enough with your own. Whether her perception of your relationship with your son is realistic is something you'd have to work out with her, but if she believes you're not bonding with him enough, it might explain her behavior. I think you need to be a little less calm when you talk to her about this. She's going to get you fired. I would lose my mind if a partner did this to me. What part of I'm working is it that you don't understand? Working from home is still working. Right now my teenage students are acting more mature than you are. If you want to continue to be a SOM, it would behoove you to not cause my termination from my job with your childish antics. I expect some level of respect from you regarding the job that keeps our family financially sound. This is bizarre. My husband is teaching from home, too. We have 2 young kids home doing distance learning, and I work from home part-time and manage the house for the most part. There is an equitable division of labor. Not only do I never interrupt him, as much as I can I run interference with the kids and minimize noise. We've even tested what cleaning sounds like vacuuming which rooms can be heard from his office. Because it is his job, his students deserve his full attention, and I'm not a selfish jerk. Your wife needs a wake-up call and/or medical attention. In the meantime, if your phone supports it, add a personal hotspot and teach from your car somewhere she won't find. Good luck. I would file a divorce. She is toxic. Your wife is acting like a child. She doesn't respect you or your time. She's competing for attention with 10th graders. She's also very young, 25. Her brain is still developing. She's misbehaving like you're her dad. I would have had an extremely harsh conversation with her the very first time she did this. The second time I would mention I was considering divorce as she clearly has no respect for me. You're enabling her behavior. Stop. I don't want to jump and say divorce her, but this is really unhealthy. She's a grown-ass woman who can't respect you while you're working. She is actively humiliating you. You don't have to apologize for trying to do your job. Gosh, I can't imagine being married to that. Try counseling. I get the feeling that you may having been putting up with more than you're willing to admit to yourself because other people don't witness it happening. Tell her to get a fucking grip and don't be scared to stand up for yourself, dude. It sounds like you are telling her what you want, but not asking why she is behaving this way. She's acting out for a reason, and you need to talk through this. You may want to consider some relationship counseling sessions before things get too far out of hand. Hey man. Your wife might be a cunt. This was painful to read. My husband is teaching over Zoom and I can't imagine. Your wife is being abusive. See, I have an honest conversation to get to the reason. If that doesn't work, try therapy. Worst case scenario, you may have to let her know she's pushing you away and making you resentful. That could lead to your child having split parents. Don't let it escalate. I think you both need to work on your communication skills. She needs to stop gaslighting you and pretending like there's no problem. You need to ask her directly why she is so very clearly trying to undermine your authority in front of your students by constantly humiliating you during your Zoom lessons. Don't stray from anything that doesn't answer this question. If the both of you can't figure out the answer to that question, then counseling. You need an objective third-party professional equipped to help you to a better place, with the caveat that you both want to get there. Download RTX Voice. It'll block any other sound except your voice. It works even without an NVIDIA GPU. She sounds rather unintelligent. I normally don't condone lying within a relationship, but I'd straight up tell her you got a warning or something for her antics. If taking calmly and getting angry didn't work, I don't know what will. This is unbelievably childish of her. Maybe you could tell her that your students are noticing, and if gets reported, something could happen. Not sure how schools would even handle something like this. She's a bully and she likes the attention she's getting when you are in front of kids. You married a child. Wife is a bitch. You'll have Redditors coming in to justify the way she's acting, citing one reason or the other. But your wife is still a bitch. Sorry, but that's the truth. Holy shit, I can't even. The amount of disrespect here is insane. You're getting bullied like a little bitch, dude. Your students recognize. When are you gonna take control of your life? Figuratively bitch slap this hoe into the next century. I'm sorry, but are you married to a 12-year-old? That level of immaturity is mind-blowing and only matched by her disrespect of you and your job. You might need bring in a third party before things get ugly. She sounds like the most unsupportive person ever. She's intentionally trying to sabotage your career, then has a tantrum like a 2-year-old when called out for it. You might not want to hear it, but she has a lot of bad person characteristics. You've tried to tell her how this affects you. She's ignored you or tried to invalidate your feelings. She's aware of your teaching times but tries to interrupt them anyway, and when unable to interrupt them will bang the door and stomp the ceiling of the room above you. My girlfriend is a teacher and had been doing the Zoom teaching, and it was basic common courtesy to be quick and leave her space in these times so to allow her to get her full attention to her kids. I would lose my goddamn mind. On the upside, in a couple years when your son is older than your wife, he can watch her for you. Dude, for the love of God, have some pride. Tell her, I would have told my husband after the second time, if she likes the roof over her head then she need to chill the fuck out and let you do your damn job. Since she keeps doing it, I would look into separating. I'm sorry, but she's fucking with your job at this point. You're lucky no one's contacted the school district. I've been reading that they have become very strict due to COVID causing the schools to go online. She clearly has absolutely no respect for you, and if that's the type of woman you want to spend your life with, then that's up to you. I couldn't stay with someone who was not only fucking with my job, but also enjoyed disrespecting and embarrassing me. Those are boundaries a spouse shouldn't cross. Passive-aggressive people don't change, they just refine their techniques to make them more subtle. I live with one and I only notice how abusive this is when I come back after leaving for a while. They'd do something fucking cruel and I'd be incredulous at first, and then I'd be like, ooh right, that's how I live. Run, there's no fixing this. To me this seems like she feels that is not helping around the house as much as she wants him to, so when he goes into work before finishing chores, she exacts revenge to try and get her way, thinking if she humiliates and sabotages him, he'll pay attention to what she needs. Not saying she's right though, but she probably thinks she is. And if this is the case, she's been very immature and failing to communicate. She honestly sounds horrible. How can someone who loves and respects you show you so much anger and disrespect? Especially so in front of your students. She's 8 years your junior, it sounds like you got what you paid for. To me it sounds like she's power playing. She's doing this because she can and gets a kick from feeling self-righteous. Tell her to stop being an asshole, and that unless it's an emergency she shouldn't be interrupting your work. The fact that a student emailed you asking after your welfare is definitely an indicator that her behavior is more than a little troubling. She knows exactly what she is doing. You don't need to tell her that you are working and that you need her to be quiet, of course she knows that. She does it on purpose. It feels like she is unhappy with some stuff but either cannot communicate it or thinks that you don't listen. So she uses the situation so that you learn it the hard way. Instead of talking to you in an appropriate way, she acts incredibly childish and mean. She willingly shames you for stupid shit like some pants. You need to draw a serious line. Wife, this is not okay. If you have a problem with me, let's talk about it, but these meltdowns every time I go to work have got to stop. I need my job and you are putting it in jeopardy. The next time it happens I will be forced to consider moving out. I don't want to do that. Can I have your word that you will respect my workspace and time from now on? Obviously, you'll have to have a backup plan ready to go. You may have to institute it before she takes you seriously. It sounds as if she is immature and jealous of the time you spend teaching. You'll need to decide if this is a deal-breaker, or not. Marriage counseling may help, but only if she wants it to. My wife will begin by rattling the door a few times, followed by pounding on it. Then she'll groan loudly and say something negative about me. After that I can hear her walking around the house slamming doors. Sir, you have married a ghost. Wow, op, that's not right. I think a frank discussion is in order. She needs to stop interfering with your work or leave. I'm not saying divorce or anything like that, but she needs to realize that your job pays for your lives and she doesn't get to interfere with that. I've been working from home since March, answering calls and emails from patients, and my husband and kids have been incredible. I have had to have a couple of discussions with the kids, but they understand that if I'm talking to a patient, or anyone on the phone for that matter, then they need to be quiet. If they can get it, your wife certainly should be able to do so. She is deliberately sabotaging you. So, what's her endgame? Does she get a kick out of it knowing that you get embarrassed and that people will know how you are her punching bag? Well, it is not something good, you know that, right? This is stuff that's enough for a divorce. Then add tantrums that you mentioned. The probabilities of her caring for you in a good way if you get sick, hurt, are not good. Why would you stay with someone like that? Find a new place, divorce, and then if you want, find a new and better wife. Divorce. She obviously doesn't respect you or your job. She needs to grow up. Teach your wife here. I am a doctor though not a som. This behavior is absolutely unbelievable. I would never act so stupid. Maybe try to outline every morning when exactly you will be able to help her out with a chore. Make a schedule. If she still acts like that, UMPF, is she stressed out with childcare and housework? Maybe she is not used to so much full house. During our lockdown, I am in Europe, I too was craving alone time at home. Maybe consider renting a room to work. Or get a babysitter or a cleaner if she is overwhelmed. It sounds like she's deliberately trying to ruin your lessons so that she'll have your full attention. I just wouldn't put up with it. She's an adult, only people under 3 should be having tantrums. I'd just be very clear with her and say if she continues to behave that way you'll have no choice but to leave her, as she's now putting your job in jeopardy. Does she not work? This is absolutely disrespectful, not only to you, but to your students as well. Her maturity level is so low it's not even funny. Does she want you to lose your job? I don't know what you can do, but if she won't hear your concerns and stop acting like that, what can you do other than leave or ask her to leave? Does she work and pay bills? Ask if she prefer to be alone in doing that. I'm sorry, but her behavior screams zero respect for you or your job. I would just get a hotel and let her know you'll come back home when she will let you work without distractions. Just invest and get one of those backdrops for your Zoom lessons so as you change where you're doing them from they won't see and ask questions.